Trump's voice cut through the phone speaker like a blade. Pam, Jim, you're doing great work. Anyone who steals from the people of the Bronx must be held accountable. Finish it. He hung up. AOC's lawyer jumped to his feet. This is a political attack. Pam Bondi smiled coldly. No. This is a $3 million theft. The hearing room in the Rayburn House office building had never felt smaller. Every eye was locked on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who sat rigid at the defendant's table, her usual fire replaced by something that looked dangerously close to panic. Behind her, 3 lawyers whispered urgently. Across from her, Pam Bondi and Byron Donalds arranged their files like soldiers preparing ammunition. It had started 3 weeks earlier when Jennifer Walsh, a 28-year-old bookkeeper from Queens, walked into the FBI field office with 2 bankers' boxes and a story that would shake Washington. Now, as she sat in the witness section, her hands trembled slightly. She'd given up everything to be here. Her job, her anonymity, her safety. All because she couldn't live with what she'd seen. Jim Jordan gaveled the hearing to order. We're here today to examine serious allegations regarding the Bronx Rising Foundation, a 501c3 charity founded and operated by Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The accusations include fraud, money laundering, and misuse of charitable funds. He looked directly at AOC. Congresswoman, you're reminded that you're under oath. Lying to this committee is a federal crime. AOC leaned into her microphone. I understand, Chairman Jordan. I have nothing to hide. Byron Donalds almost smiled at that. He opened his first folder, 3 inches thick, tabbed with multicolored markers. Then let's begin with transparency. The Bronx Rising Foundation was incorporated on March 15, 2019. You signed as founder and board chair. Correct. Wes. And the stated mission was to, quote, provide emergency financial assistance to struggling families in the Bronx. Correct. That's correct. Beautiful mission. Byron said. No, let's see how it worked in practice. He clicked a remote. The screen behind him illuminated with a photograph. A crowded community center, AOC at the podium. Reso Pafar Ornanich Bars. This was your launch event, April 2019. You raised $175,000 that night. Do you remember what you told the crowd? AOC straightened. I spoke about the need for direct action. About neighbors helping neighbors. Let me refresh your memory. Byron clicked again. A video began playing. On screen, a younger AOC spoke passionately. Every dollar you give tonight goes directly to Bronx families. No overhead, no administrative costs, no corporate salaries. This is pure people power. Pure community action. The video stopped. Byron let the silence hang. No overhead, he repeated. No administrative costs. That was the promise. That was the goal. Yes or no? Did you promise donors that their money would go directly to families in need? AOC glanced at her lawyers. I expressed our intention. Wes or no? Yes. Pam Bondi stood slowly, like a prosecutor who knew they'd already won. Let's examine how well you kept that promise. She placed a document on the projector. This is the Foundation's 990 tax form for 2019. Total donations received $1.2 million. Total direct aid to families of $37. Gas rippled through the gallery. 3%. Pam continued. 3% of donations actually reached the Bronx families you claim to champion. Where did the rest go? AOC's voice was defensive now. Building an organization requires investment. Investment in what? Pam flipped to another page. Salaries and consulting fees $40,000-$50,000. Events and fundraising $380,000. Office expenses $125,000. Travel and entertainment $95,000. And my personal favorite, a strategic planning retreat in Miami $40,000. She looked up. Congresswoman, how does a beach resort in Miami help Bronx families pay rent? Team building and strategic planning are essential. Team building. Byron interrupted. He pulled out a photograph. This is from that Miami retreat. That's you, poolside at the Four Seasons. That's Riley Roberts, your partner, listed as a $200,000 a year consultant. That's your chief of staff. Your campaign manager. Your personal trainer. He squinted at the photo. Why was your personal trainer at a charity strategic planning session? Marcus Johnson was developing wellness programs. Wellness programs that never materialized. Pam cut in. Just like the job training center that never opened. The food pantry that never distributed food. The emergency fund that never funded emergencies. Jim Jordan leaned forward. Let's talk about Riley Roberts. Your longtime partner hired as chief digital strategist. What exactly did he strategize? Riley managed our online presence, donor communications. For $200,000 a year. His expertise was crucial. His expertise, Byron said, pulling out another document. Before joining your foundation, Mr. Roberts was unemployed. His previous job, part-time yoga instructor. His qualifications for running digital strategy for a multi-million-dollar charity. AOC's face flushed. Riley is highly intelligent and dedicated. To you, Pam finished. Dedicated to you, not to the Bronx. Not to charity. To you and your political ambitions. She clicked to a new slide. Screenshots of text messages. These are texts between you and Mr. Roberts, obtained through legal subpoena. Would you like to read the highlighted portion? AOC went pale. Those are private. Not anymore. Pam read aloud. From you to Mr. Roberts, June 2009, baby. The foundation is perfect. It's like having a campaign fund that never has to report to the FEC. We can pay ourselves, our friends, build our network, and look like heroes doing it. The room erupted. Jordan gabbled for order. That's taken out of context. AOC shouted over the noise. What context? Byron demanded. What context makes that acceptable? Before she could answer, Pam continued reading. Mr. Roberts replies, are you sure this is legal? You respond, completely legal. Foundations have wide discretion. As long as we do some charity work, we're covered. Some charity work, Jim Jordan repeated. Not the focus, not the mission. Some charity work. Like it's a box to check. AOC's lead attorney stood. Chairman, I object to this theatrical reading of private communications. Sit down. Jordan snapped. Your client is suspected of defrauding donors of millions. She'll answer for every text, every email, every paper clip bought with charity funds. He turned to the gallery. Ems. Jennifer Walsh, please come forward. Jennifer rose on shaky legs. She'd been dreading this moment for weeks, but knew it had to come. As she settled into the witness chair, she caught AOC's eye. Her former boss looked at her with a mixture of rage and betrayal. State your name for the record. Jennifer Walsh. I was bookkeeper for the Bronx Rising Foundation from April 2019 to December 2022. Why did you leave? Jordan asked gently. Jennifer took a deep breath. Because I was asked to do things that weren't right. When I refused, I was terminated. What kind of things? Falsifying financial records. Moving money between accounts to hide its purpose. Creating fake invoices for services that were never provided. Who asked you to do these things? Jennifer looked directly at AOC. Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, both directly and through Riley Roberts. Can you give us a specific example? Jennifer nodded. In October 2021, the Congresswoman wanted to use foundation funds for a campaign rally. I explained that was illegal. She told me to invoice it as a community outreach event and backdate the paperwork. Did you do it? No. That's when the problem started. Byron leaned forward. What kind of problems? First, they cut my hours. Then they moved my desk to a storage closet. Riley Roberts told me I was being unnecessarily rigid and that I needed to be a team player. And then? Then I found out they'd been keeping a second set of books. The real ones. The room went silent. Tell us about these second books, Pam prompted. I discovered them by accident. Jennifer explained. I stayed late one night to finish quarterly reports. Riley had left his laptop open. I saw a spreadsheet titled BRF Actual. It showed where the money really went. And where did it go? Everywhere except the Bronx. Payments to AOC's campaign staff, deposits to her personal accounts, purchases of campaign materials, funding for political events disguised as charity functions. Do you have evidence of this? Jennifer reached into her bag and pulled out a flash drive. Everything. Screenshots, files, emails. I copied it all before they fired me. She handed the drive to Jim Jordan, who passed it to a technician. Within moments, documents began appearing on the screen. This is damning, Byron said, scanning the files. Look at this, November 2021, transfer of $300 from Bronx Rising to AOC Campaign Fund LC memo line. Professional services. What professional services? Jennifer answered quietly. There were none. It was just moving money. And this? Pam pointed to another entry. 50,000 to Bronx Community Catering. I'm guessing that wasn't actually a Bronx company. It was a shell company registered in Delaware. The money went right back to the campaign. AOC suddenly stood. This is all lies. Jennifer was a disgruntled employee, with documentation. Jordan cut her off. Sit down. Congresswoman, you'll have your chance to respond. But AOC remained standing. This woman was fired for incompetence. She's making things up for revenge. Then explain this. Byron clicked to a new document. This is your signature authorizing a $75,000 payment to Equity Consulting Group, according to corporate records. Equity Consulting Group's registered address is your boyfriend's apartment. AOC slowly sat back down. Jennifer continued her testimony. The worst part was when actual people in need came for help. I'll never forget Maria Gonzalez. Tell us about Maria, Pam said gently. She came to our office in November 2021. 3 kids working 2 jobs, about to lose power in her apartment. She needed $300 to keep the lights on. She had all the documentation, qualified under every criterion we'd published. What happened? The Congresswoman rejected her application personally, said we needed to maintain a healthy reserve. How much was in the foundation's accounts at that time? Over 800,000 baht. The gallery erupted in angry murmurs. Jennifer continued. The foundation spent the 15,000 on a holiday party for donors at the Rainbow Room in Manhattan. Did any Bronx families attend this party? No. It was champagne and caviar for rich donors who wanted to feel good about themselves. Pam turned to AOC. Congresswoman, you had 800,000 in the bank, and you denied a working mother 300 for electricity. How do you justify that? AOC's response was barely audible. We had fiduciary responsibilities. T.O. help you, boo. Jim Jordan slammed his hand on the desk. Your only responsibility was to help people. Instead, you built a slush fund. Byron pulled out his phone. I just received something interesting. Congresswoman, are you familiar with Carlos Mendez? AOC's lawyer whispered urgently in her ear. She shook her head. I don't recall that name. Let me refresh your memory. Carlos Mendez, small business owner in the Bronx. His restaurant was destroyed in a fire. He applied to your foundation for emergency assistance to rebuild. You denied him. We received many applications. You denied him, but the next day the foundation paid 25,000 to renovate your campaign office. Same contractor, same invoice date. You literally took money that could have saved a Bronx business and used it to upgrade your own office. That's not. Mr. Mendez is here today. Byron gestured to the gallery. A middle-aged man stood slowly. He lost everything, his American dream destroyed, while you sat in your newly renovated office planning your next photo op. AOC couldn't meet the man's eyes. Pam clicked to a new slide. Let's talk about the galaxy of LCs you created. Bronx Rising Community Services LC, Bronx Rising Development LLC, Bronx Rising Innovation Hub LLC, all registered within days of each other. All sharing the same address. All with you and Mr. Roberts as sole officers. What were these for? Different aspects of our mission. Different ways to move money. Pam corrected. We've tracked transfers between these entities. Money goes in as charitable donations, gets shuffled between LLCs, and comes out as political spending. It's a shell game. We followed all applicable laws. Then you won't mind explaining this. Byron pulled out another document. IRS Form 990 Schedule L related party transactions. You were required to disclose any financial dealings between the foundation and its officers. You checked none. He looked up. Was that accurate? AOC consulted with her lawyers. After a long whisper session, she responded. I may have misunderstood the form. You misunderstood whether you were paying yourself and your boyfriend hundreds of thousands in charity funds. The relationships were disclosed in other ways. WR, Jordan demanded. Show us one place where you told donors that their money was going to your personal enrichment. Silence. Jennifer Walsh raised her hand. May I add something? Jordan nodded. There's something else people should know. The foundation had a special fund called Emergency Direct Aid. It was supposed to be for immediate crisis help. Someone about to be evicted, medical emergencies, that kind of thing. How much was in this fund? It varied, but usually around 50,000. How often was it used for actual emergencies? Jennifer's voice was bitter. Never. Not once. But it was used plenty. Concert tickets for donors, Uber rides for staff, restaurant bills for donor cultivation. Once, a 5,000 zarzand went to a spa weekend that AOC called a wellness planning retreat. While people in the Bronx were suffering, Pam said quietly. The Congresswoman used to joke about it. Jennifer continued. She'd say the real emergency was maintaining donor relationships. AOC's lawyer stood again. This is character assassination. This is testimony under oath. Jordan shut him down. If your client wants to dispute it, she can take the stand. All eyes turned to AOC. After a whispered conference with her lawyers, she stood. I'll testify, she said. Her lawyers looked panicked, but she waved them off. She moved to the witness chair with the bearing of someone walking to their execution. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? The clerk asked. I do, Pam Bondi stood. Congresswoman, let's start simple. Did you use Bronx Rising Foundation funds for personal or political purposes? I used foundation resources to build a movement. Yes or no? It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. Did you use charity money for non-charitable purposes? AOC's jaw tightened. Some funds may have been used in ways that served dual purposes. Dual purposes, Pam repeated. Like the $200,000 salary to your unemployed boyfriend. Riley provided valuable services. Name one. He managed our digital presence, your Twitter account, the one you personally control. It did more than that. Name something else. One specific thing Riley Roberts did to help Bronx families. Silence. Byron took over. Let's try another approach. How many times did you personally visit Bronx families who received aid from your foundation? I don't have an exact number. Because the number is 0, Byron said. We've reviewed 3 years of your schedule. Not one visit to a family helped by Bronx Rising, but plenty of visits to donor galas in Manhattan. Meeting donors was essential. More essential than meeting the people you claimed to help. AOC's composed facade was cracking. You don't understand how nonprofits work. I understand how honest ones work. Byron shot back. They help people. They don't enrich their founders. Jim Jordan pulled out a final document. Congresswoman, this is a memo you wrote to staff in January 2022. Subject line. Foundation priorities. Would you read the highlighted portion? AOC looked at the paper. Her face went white. Read it. Jordan ordered. With a trembling voice, AOC read, our primary goal for 2022 must be building reserves for the 2024 cycle. Direct aid programs should be minimal, just enough for social media content. Focus all efforts on donor expansion and political network building. Just enough for social media content. Jordan repeated. That's what Bronx families were to you. Content. Props for your political ambitions. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? Pam demanded. What other way is there to interpret direct aid should be minimal? AOC looked around the room desperately. Her lawyers had buried their faces in their hands. The gallery was full of disgusted faces. Even the Democrats on the committee were avoiding eye contact. She started, then stopped. I want to invoke my Fifth Amendment rights. No, do you want to stop talking? Byron laughed bitterly. After 3 years of speeches about helping the poor, I invoke my Fifth Amendment rights. AOC repeated. Fine, Jordan said. But the evidence speaks for itself. Jennifer, do you have anything else to add? Jennifer nodded. Just one thing. The Congresswoman likes to talk about growing up in the Bronx, being one of the people. But I watched her mock the very people she claimed to represent. She'd laugh at their applications, make fun of their spelling errors, joke about their desperation. She looked directly at AOC. You didn't just steal their money. You stole their hope, and you laughed while you did it. The room was silent except for the sound of AOC's tears. But nobody felt sympathy. These weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of someone who'd been caught. Pam Bondi stood for her closing statement. Ladies and gentlemen, what we've seen today is corruption at its most cynical. A woman who rode to power on the backs of the poor, then robbed them blind. The Bronx Rising Foundation wasn't a charity. It was a criminal enterprise. She turned to AOC. You betrayed every person who believed in you. Every dollar donated in good faith. Every family who needed help and got excuses instead. You turned hope into a hustle. Byron added, the evidence is overwhelming. Bank records, testimony, documents, all pointing to systematic fraud. We're not talking about accounting errors or judgment calls. We're talking about deliberate, calculated theft. Jim Jordan gaveled the hearing to its conclusion. Based on the evidence presented today, this committee will recommend immediate criminal prosecution to the Department of Justice. Charges to include wire fraud, money laundering, tax evasion, and conspiracy. He looked at AOC one last time. Congresswoman, you have disgraced your office, your constituents, and yourself. May God have mercy on you, because the law won't. As the hearing ended, FBI agents entered the room. They approached AOC slowly, giving her a moment to compose herself. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the lead agent said, you're under arrest for federal wire fraud, money laundering, and theft of charitable funds. You have the right to remain silent. As they led her away in handcuffs, AOC passed Maria Gonzalez in the gallery, the woman who'd needed $300 for electricity. Maria was crying, but not from sympathy. They were tears of betrayal. I believed in you, Maria whispered. We all did. AOC couldn't respond. There was nothing left to say. The aftermath was swift and devastating. Within hours, AOC's resignation letter was delivered to the Speaker's office. By evening, every major Democratic figure had condemned her actions. The Democratic Socialists of America revoked her membership. Her donors demanded refunds. Riley Roberts was arrested the next morning at JFK Airport, attempting to board a flight to Costa Rica. He would later plead guilty and testify against AOC in exchange for a reduced sentence. The Bronx Rising Foundation's remaining funds, a mere $42,000 out of millions raised, were seized by federal authorities and distributed to legitimate Bronx charities. Jennifer Walsh, the whistleblower who risked everything, received death threats from AOC's most radical supporters. The FBI placed her in protective custody. She would later receive a commendation for her courage and become an advocate for nonprofit transparency. 3 months later, in a federal courtroom, AOC pled guilty to all charges. The woman who'd once demanded the rich pay their fair share was ordered to pay $3.2 million in restitution and sentenced to 10 years in federal prison. As she was led away, protesters outside held signs, "AO from hero to zero," and "The Bronx deserved better." In her cell that night, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez had plenty of time to think about how it all went wrong. How the bartender from Yorktown, who pretended to be from the Bronx, had become the prisoner who stole from both. The revolution she'd promised had come after all, just not the way anyone expected. The poor finally got justice, and the woman who'd promised to deliver it became its target instead.